Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. I am Adesua Omorowan.
And I'm referring to Seni. I should say you look great in your turquoise blue or powder blue.
And I'm Shaito Atigari. Good morning. The reactions trailing the decision to restrict motorcycles and tricycles are yet to abate. Since the announcement of the ban, which started on the 1st of February 2020 in Nigeria's economic capital of Lagos, commercial transport fares have increased and many Lagosians are finding it more difficult to navigate their way through the increased traffic on the roads.
Well, according to the state government, it wielded the big stick against the menace of commercial motorcycles, popularly known as Okada, and rickshaws, known as NAPEP, prescribing their operations in 6 local government areas, 9 local council development areas, as well as 10 major highways across the state with effect from the beginning of this month. However, it did not spare the bike-hailing startups from that decision, and one of the affected operators, Gokada, is still counting its loss and looking forward to possible ways to resolve the current development.
So joining us now is Victor DAMINABO, the Operations Flight Manager of Gokada. It's a joy having you here, Victor. I mean, Victor, what does it really, let's even understand the gamut of, the business structure. What does the Operation Flight Manager do in Gokada?
So I pretty much coordinate everything that has to do with operations, from recruitment to training to business as usual. I'm responsible for all of those things, and then making sure that everyone who goes through our recruitment process pretty much intends to stay permanently with us. So my job is also to ensure that we do a lot to make them...
recruitment, that means you recruited well over how many riders?
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000
yes.
riders?
Yes.
Handling how many bikes?
When I say we've had over 2,000 people, I'm saying we've also had to let some people go.
Okay. So that's the remaining stock.
Exactly. Because we have standards. So if you fail to meet this, I mean, you get off the platform.
With how many bikes now?
So we have over 2,000 bikes now.
Over 2,000 bikes.
Since the implementation from 1st of February,
yes.
Tell us, how has this implementation of the extant law, because a lot of people refer to it as a ban, it's actually the implementation of an extant law. How has it affected your business? And if you could put a figure to it for us, give us an understanding.
Of course, it has affected us. We have practically paused operations for now. We had to shut down all the bikes because we have trackers on the bikes and devices that we could use to turn off the bikes. So to ensure that we didn't have any of our pilots, we call our drivers pilots, to ensure that we didn't have any of our pilots break the law by going on the road, we decided to shut down the bikes. So yes, since the 1st of February, we practically haven't been in operation. So
what's the figure to this?
Yes, so if we're saying 2 weeks now, we're looking at over 30 million.
Wow. I mean, some would say that it's not, like Adesua rightfully mentioned, it's an extant law, and it's not a full ban. There are arguments that they are still allowed to ply certain areas. So you've now spoken about an entire pause on operations. So are you totally ignoring some of these parts that do need to be serviced by these Okada riders?
To be honest, the areas that were restricted are the major areas. All of the other routes that we have been told to ply are pretty minor routes, say 1 kilometer maximum. So we intend to have these guys go back to work, but of course the major reason we paused wasn't because we felt these distances were too small. We just wanted to ensure that we complied with the law. So we decided to shut down the bikes first. When everyone is calm, we can resume operations. So now we have already started to inform our pilots to get back to roads and service those areas. So of course, our pilots who live in areas where the ban is affecting will definitely not hit the road. But we're making plans to.
I know you have a legal team.
Yes.
What's the interpretation of your legal team as regards this law?
To be honest, we are in compliance with the 2018 transportation policy, which exempts
Bikes with
bikes with 200 cc and above from being affected by this ban. Our legal teams are engaging the government. To be honest, they are handling that. I would not come here to say.
I get why you would not want to speak on that,
Yes.
but let me ask you, because this is on that debate in town, is it not correct to say that even though you relied on this extant law which exempts the kind of bikes you use, which are 220, 200 cc and above, the reason you haven't really taken up the government legally is because you do not have approval to operate your business in Lagos State. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct. All ride-hailing companies were yet to be licensed.
So let me understand this. You came into Lagos State and you just started operation. There was no engagement with the government, and from the date, we understand it is not even the Babajide Sanwo-Olu government, it's the previous administration. You did not have any approval to operate as a startup in the state.
So to be honest, you cannot start anything in Lagos and not be in talks with the government.
So what
we have
exactly
been
happened?
having conversations with the government. There are conversations around licensing everyone to ensure that we are regulated. So, and that's what everyone was operating based on. We always used to have meetings at the ministry with the SA, the commissioner, all of those people. And then we were always, talking around the things that we could offer to ensure that we could help regulate the bike transportation industry. So yes, we were always having talks with them, and we were supposed to get...
Nothing concrete.
Exactly. We were supposed to get feedback on that, but then we heard of the ban. So it came as a surprise to all of us.
Speaking about regulation, the Lagos State government has released some statistics to back up the ban. They said between 2016 and 2019 alone, they had recorded about 10,000 motorcycle and keke-related accidents, and that was just in general hospitals alone. Have you spoken about the fact that you had been having conversations with the government about these regulations? Now, can you tell us some of the things that you had put forward to make sure, because this is a huge problem and we need to be able to figure it out. How do we regulate these riders?
So we have already started doing that. First things first, we do not just pick up anyone to take a bike to ride. Our recruitment processes are very strict. It involves going through three different stages. So there's first the bike test to be certain that you can at least move the bike. And then we have different training classes on customer experience, on pilot legislation, what we call pilot legislation, which involves Lagos laws, traffic laws, and all of those things. And then finally, we now have a bike class where you are trained on maneuvering, filtering, and all of those things. And afterwards, after each class, you're expected to take a test. So we have like a 30% pass rate. So we have already worked on that to ensure that we do not just buy a bike and give it to anyone and then endanger the lives of Lagosians. So that's one thing that we've done. Secondly, we've also, we track all our pilots because we want to know what is happening every day. So if you take a Gokada, for example, and anything goes wrong and you reach out to us, we do not even have to, all we need is the pilot ID. We do not have to speak to him. We can go to our...
Okay, I understand we have a break coming up in 30 seconds, but I still want to go back to that licensing thing. This is really very important. When you look at the big cities in the world, Uber is licensed in London. The license of Uber was retracted in London. Ola is coming in, getting licenses in London. And we'll go for a break, and I'll come down on that question. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right, welcome back. Still morning show here on the Rise News. So we're still being joined by Victor DAMINABO, the Operations Flight Manager of GOKADA. I was about to ask a question. I was talking about licensing. Wasn't it scary for you? I use the word scary, to go into a business that wasn't licensed, because this is the trend all around the world. There's always been a big dichotomy between technology-based transport applications and, conventional applications. You have the unions, for instance. Wasn't it scary going into the business? And secondly, why didn't you push to ensure that you had licensed? Because if you're not licensed, how were you paying taxes? Correct me on that. What was even the threshold of repaying taxes? What was even the understanding behind the business?
So yes, we were, of course, like I said, you can't go into a business in Lagos or anywhere without having conversations with the government or trying to get licensed. So yes, we were always having these talks. We were getting some sort of assurance. I mean, we could not, you asked the question, why didn't we push to make it happen? Mm-hmm. The government, of course, has its concerns concerning this method of transportation, right? So, of course, I'm sure they wanted to see what level to which we would attain all the things that we were saying we could do in ensuring that we could reform or change it. And so it would be funny to, or be, I don't know, somehow if you go every day and say, I want a license, when they are uncertain as to whether this is a form of transportation that they want in their state. So we were, we had to go at their pace, always reach out, try engaging them, saying, oh, this is what we've done, this is where we are, we need this license, we need to move forward. And we were, of course, getting positive feedbacks from them.
Only to hear this?
Only to hear this.
Since you are not licensed to operate in the States, let's talk about the alleged annual licensing fees of 25 million naira per 1,000 bikes and then 30,000 naira per bike after the first set of 1,000. Was there anything like this proposed to you? To
be honest, we didn't get any information like that. These were speculations. We had a meeting once and we're told we're going to be licensed. And of course, we started to hear in the media that it's this, it's that. But we just had to wait and get the correct source from the government. But that never happened.
No, let me pick up on what Rufai said, because you mentioned taxation.
Yeah.
And from what we have heard from complaints, we've gone to the streets to interview your riders and others. And they talk about, being harassed by people who they have to pay fees to. So talk us through what taxation was like since you started this business in Lagos.
So when we initially started, we didn't have issues with the union guys, the ticketers. Mm-hmm. We didn't have issues with them. But sometime in June last year, it started to happen. And our pilots were being harassed every time they were moving around.
Oh, they harassed for? What was the reason?
To buy the tickets, buy tickets to...
but those were tickets that were sold by Akomoro, which is the General Motorcycle Association
and all of that.
And the union. But you guys are not part of Akomoro, so why were they harassing you?
Exactly. So these things were happening and we needed to speak to the government. And that's when we started having steady meetings with the government. And, we took our complaints to them. And to resolve the entire issue, we were told that each driver was supposed to pay for these fees. The drivers are not the company. And so to make peace reign, we agreed, informed our pilots, and they complied immediately.
Were your pilots part of Akomoro? Because that's where they will first cite that every bike rider should be a member of Akomoro.
So the argument was every driver is supposed to be a part of that union. And so it was clearly stated that it did not concern us as a company, that we weren't meant to pay, that the drivers were meant to pay. Every day they operate.
But the pilots are part of the company. I'm just trying to make sense of this. They are part of the company. And like Rufai rightfully mentioned, these riders have to be part of this union. So if they work for you, because if we are being honest, a lot of these riders actually came off the streets and have been able to say, okay, you know what, this is a template that works. I'm able to get my money faster. I'm regulated. So can you really, put that separation there?
So another argument that was brought up was the fact that a lot of the drivers used to be members of that union before coming to us, seeing what we were offering and all of that. And so the argument was another business was being affected and all that stuff. To be honest, we just needed peace to reign, because at the end of the day, it's not me being harassed, it's these guys who are on the road. And so since we were advised to speak to them and then advise them to make these payments, we explained everything to them and they were fine with it. And I mean,
you see the challenge with ride hailing and government and regulation everywhere in the world has always been the position of the rider. This too has happened in other climes as regards Uber drivers. And I'll give you an instance. So take, for instance, what kind of contract do you have with them vis-a-vis what Akomoro will give them? Are they do you have 0-hour contracts with them? Because these people, you can easily let them go if this is not working. And the union says they want to protect them. So how did you even think of not incorporating the union at first when you started? Because this is a very important union. You should have had conversations with.
To us, we didn't exactly understand what the union was offering these guys. A lot of our drivers were against making payments because when they looked at what we were offering and what they were being offered by those guys that they paid money to, they could not, make sense out of what those payments were for. But like I said, we were not ready to, be in the middle of fights between people. So we just, and the government at the time advised us to allow peace reign in Lagos because it was becoming a chaos. And so we agreed, oh yes, and we explained to our drivers, and they thought about it too and said it's just a small token compared to what they actually make. So they were fine with it and they moved on.
Talking about unions.
Yes, they started paying the unions.
Talking about unions, there's the Transportation Hailing Alliance
yes.
of Nigeria, THAN. Are you a member of that
yes,
union?
Yes, we are.
And what is THAN doing at this point, this impasse, if you like to call it?
So we are still engaged in the government. THAN consists of GOKADA, MAX, and OPE. We're still in talks with the government. We are pretty much just telling them that we can work with them. We have a lot to help solve the problems or some of the concerns that they have, security, safety. We can provide database of all of these people. We can work with the police and provide information about these people. I feel like we can have curfews in Lagos. So if you're concerned about bikes moving at night, because they've made complaints about theft and all of that. At our platform, we already tell our pilots at 8 o'clock the app stops to work. So everyone goes home afterwards to ensure that we have lesser people on the road and, we reduce the risk of accidents or anything.
Or tired drivers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
but how do you monitor offline work?
So we have sit sensors on our bikes.
Okay.
Every trip, at the end of the day, every trip taken via the app must tally with the number of times a person sat on a bike. The bike counts or measures weight above 25 kg and between 25 and 100 kg, so you don't take more than one customer. So we have those things on the bike, and then we monitor these things every day. So, of course, there are some people who try to do offline. I don't know the reason why, to be honest, because I feel they make enough using the app. I don't know why that happens, but every day that we check, which is why I told you, we have employed over 2,000 people and gotten, because when these things happen, yes, you have to go.
Still talking about the statistics, Max was they were very forward out there. They put their numbers out there. They said we've done 2 million trips. Out of those 2 million trips, we've had less than 100 incidents, and we've had 0 fatalities.
Yes.
I'm curious to know what your stats are, and also the challenges that you've faced, apart from these things that you mentioned, other challenges that you've faced when it comes to this Okada, ban, this thing that's happened with Lagos State government.
So as regards the numbers, we've had over 2 million rides also, and our accident rate is currently at 0.003%.
What's that?
0.003%.
0.003%.
Like, to show you how very minimal it is. And then we've also had 0 fatalities. So yes, we are proud of that, and it's something that we've been trying to let the government know that we care about the things you are concerned about, and we have also been working on those things.
So that's about 6,000, right? 0.003% of 2 million rides. That's 6,000.
Yes.
No fatalities.
Well, beyond the security and health consciousness of the concern raised by the Lagos State government, it seems that the government is very specific on the greater Lagos plan, the bigger picture, the smart city that they hope to achieve. And the governor had said in recent times after this ban that there's no going back. So it's most likely there will be no reversal on this implementation of the law. Well, you hope not. Well, the governor seems intentional about this. And I just want to ask you, what's the next step for you? Is it to go home?
No, of course not.
Go out of Lagos? Or eventually go to court?
So we're not going home. we have already started to work on other verticals that we have. We're looking to...
Because did you know this is the phase one? There are other phases to this. Okay.
So we're looking to go into deliveries. We have already started.
Okay.
We've started partnering with certain companies, and we started, I'm sure you'd probably be seeing pilots with moving around. And then we also have interest in, we always wanted to go into the water transportation. At some point we started the G-boat thing, and then we paused for a bit. So we're definitely going back to that.
Can I ask why you paused though? Because I mean, looking at the alternatives, we are aware that Babajide Sanwo-Olu actually launched 8 new speedboats at the Etiosa local government and is hoping to do more of that.
Yes.
So G-boats would definitely be a solution and would help increase the traffic on our waterways. Why did you pause on that?
So what we did initially was to test that market. We wanted to be sure what routes were perfect, what routes would work. So we did that for 2 months and then decided to stop so we could come back fully ready. I mean, prior to the ban, it's just unfortunate that this happened. People would have heard about other things, but right now it feels like, oh, the ban happened. Now they're coming up.
Well, was it the nature of understanding the marine? Because I got a fair idea. You know, I took a boat to work for about 2 years of my life, and I know how very costly that industry could be. I mean, take for instance a one road trip. You can use about 50 liters of petrol. You know, just one road trip. If you want to go to and fro, you can use about 100 liters. Because of the cost or the logistical nightmare that brings?
No, so, like I said, we were testing. We're aware of these things, like you said, how many liters you need. So we just needed to be ready to go into it, not just jump into different things and then fail at them.
Okay. Before the interruptions, you were responding to my question about the options on the table for you to go home, to go out of Lagos, or to eventually go to court.
So to be honest, we've always been saying one thing and one thing only. We're looking to work with the government. We are not here to fight because, to be honest, we understand what they are trying to achieve. So we will keep talking to them. So going to court, I mean, I think that's a bit extreme. We can actually have gentlemanly discussions with them.
Okay. Going out of Lagos?
Yes, that's also an option. We're looking to try other states. I mean, Lagos is a very big market. But then, yes, we're open to trying out other states also.
But what's been the response like? You did say your lawyers, even though you do not intend to go to court, your lawyers have been meeting with the Lagos State government. What's been the response so far? Are they warmly? Are they ready to come to the table? What's the impression you get so far?
So to be honest, we haven't gotten anything positive yet. We will still keep talking, keep engaging them. And hopefully we'll be back on the road.
We're going on a break very soon, but I'm very interested in this, in the G-boats, because I really think that our waterways are being underutilized. And my first question to you is, I hope that in bringing it back, all the boxes have been checked, the licensing, talking to the state government to make sure that the next thing is that we don't hear that there's a ban on G-boats.
Definitely. We will definitely do things differently this time. There's no way we will have a repeat of what just happened again with any of our other verticals. So yes, we will talk to all the right sources and definitely get the license.
Okay, we're going to go on a quick break now. You're still watching the morning show. Stay with us.
It's tough for an entrepreneur who's trying to innovate, who's investing his own money, when this is not my country. It's a country that I feel has amazing potential and has amazing people, and they just need the opportunity to shine. And the drivers that were at Gokada, every one of them wasn't there because they just wanted to make money. They were there because they had families. They had children, they had dreams. They wanted to start businesses, they wanted to go to school. They had degrees already, but they couldn't find jobs. For many, Gokada wasn't the final place for their lives. It was a stepping stone to get to that next endeavor. And we were hoping that a lot of these drivers wouldn't be drivers forever. We were hoping that we could place them in higher jobs within Gokada and create a beautiful community which was developing slowly, and it was really something that moved me to the point where I was okay putting all my money and all my effort in. What I'll tell you is that Gokada is not just a business to me, it's a mission. And every part of that mission was always being safe, providing jobs. We do things that nobody else did in the market at the time. We provided helmets that were DOT certified, Department of Transportation certified, US Department of Transportation certified, which means that if you get in a motorcycle accident with that helmet, that you are protected. We put Bluetooths on our helmets so drivers did not use their phones while they're on their motorcycles, so they could get directions through their Bluetooth headsets. We provided drivers with these high-end bikes that were 200 cc's, and we maintained the bikes, because the bike that is not well maintained could and is more likely to get in an accident. We trained our drivers extensively, and we monitored drivers through technology, as I said earlier, to understand which ones were the bad ones and eliminate them immediately. All this resulted in an accident rate that was well below 0.1%.
Well, that's the CEO of Gokada, one of the bike-hailing startups. So we do have the operations flight manager here with us, Victor Daminabo. Thank you so much for staying with us. That was your CEO. Very passionate video. I remember when it came out, it was trending. A lot of Lagos residents and Nigerians in general were reacting to it. It says it's all about passion and what you do for those riders. The reaction so far. So we have had your reaction. What are your pilots, like you refer to them, what are they saying to you? What has been the impact so far on them, on their family? We also know there was a fallout. There was this young lady, a student of Yabatech, I think.
Sandra.
Sandra, she had a passionate appeal as well, and then eventually got a car. So that's one of the million drivers you have. But what have been the stories of these drivers so far?
People are like your family.
To be honest, they are family. One thing that we have done at our office is we have done like an open door policy where people can walk in, sit next to me, charge stuff. Like, we make them feel at home all the time. So yes, it has affected them, to be honest. I get calls every day asking what the plan is, saying, oh, my wife this, my wife that, which is why we also want to, reactivate the bikes and have them work in the minor access and make some things for themselves, pending when we come up with a better solution. So yes, the effect on them is major. Major, to be honest.
And in this engagement with the state government at this time, is this something you're putting forward beyond, because I know there's no free lunch anywhere. Gokada is in Lagos to make money, even though you touch the lives of your riders and all of that. But is this something you're putting forward to the government beyond your business appeal, to say lives are being affected here?
To be honest, that's like the major thing. When we think about the back-end staff, I mean, we will open other verticals. The question now is how many of these pilots can join? If we go into G-Boat, how many of them will join? I mean, so we're worried about them more than, we're more worried about them the same way we're worried about the business.
Let's talk about safety. Let's talk about accidents. Let's talk about all the things that were giving us reasons.
Yes.
If you could look back, what would you have done better as regards those things? Do you feel you've done it all? Do you feel you've put in everything as regards, what would you have done better to make the rates, reduce? So
one of the things that we spend so much time on is, when I talk about training, because, you can't just say we train these guys, we decided to for example, in August last year, we went on a 2-week break. People thought we were out of business. It was majorly because we knew that we had the opportunity to scale, but we wanted to do it slowly and the right way. So we went back, worked on all our processes. We ensured that the training wasn't just, just done in a hurry to ensure you get the bike. We're focusing on some of the things that would cause accidents. For example, a person parks his car, opens the door because you're in full speed, you then run into him, or or any of those, like all of those things flying one way. So these were things we focused on the training. We're giving real life examples, things they could connect with. And then also we decided to put speed limiters on the bike. So the moment a pilot is driving and he exceeds 65 kilometers, the bike starts to beep. We get notified at the office. The customer also knows and can tap him and say, because of course you'd be worried, why is your bike making noise? So the customer also can tap him and say, and he'll know that, oh, he's going too fast.
What if he says, leave me alone?
No, of course. So yes, there are cases like that, which is why I said, at the office, I have a team, a compliance team. Their job is to check trips, everything about trips. Those who do offline, those who go beyond 65 kilometers.
What about those who break traffic lights, traffic laws?
So to be honest, we also had bounty programs that we put out there for customers where we're saying, find any GOKADA pilot breaking the law, send us a picture, and get paid 5,000 naira.
So what disciplinary actions are put forward? Because, I mean, we can't necessarily cut out second chances.
Yes.
These are human beings.
Yes.
They make mistakes. So what disciplinary actions are put in place for them, and how grievous are they?
So we have what we call the pilot legislation, and we have laws there. You break any one of them, there's no second chance. There are things that we can overlook. So things like overspeeding, outright termination, flying one way, outright termination. We look at the cases where, every pilot is expected to dress a certain way. So if you are not dressed properly, you then get a warning letter. If a customer says, because we expect all our pilots to have an opening line every time they pick you up. So if a customer reports for that, you get a warning letter. But there are those things that we're strict on. For example, if you take alcohol, you go immediately. We had people who...
How did you monitor that?
We have breathalyzers. We have the safety and compliance officer.
Okay.
So
Did you breathalyze all of them before they got on the bike?
Of course. So what happens is, of course...
Do they take the bikes home?
Yes, they do.
So when they come out in the morning, take for instance, I'm a GOKADA pilot. Mm-hmm. I come out in the morning, but before I come out, I've taken small thing. I got on my bike, just to charge my system, like some people say.
Yes.
Get on my bike and move out. How do you breathalyze me?
So I'm not saying that we do that every day. Every day, pilots come to the office to remit. So we're always lucky to have these guys walking, reeking of alcohol.
Yeah, but I might have cleaned my mouth. I might have taken it in the morning.
That's what I'm saying. So, of course, I can't say that there's a perfect process to ensure that a person who takes alcohol, you can get him right now. There isn't any in the world, right? So the only thing that happens is the moment I am with you and I sense that you're misbehaving, that's the first thing we do.
All right.
And the moment we find out, you go.
Mr. Victor, stay with us. GOKADA is not the only one affected in this implementation of the extant law in Lagos State. Our business correspondent, Niyi Oyelowo, had an interview with the CEO of...
on 27th of January,
Let's also listen to that.
The government, through one of its social media handles, announced a ban in, I think, about 6 local government areas of Lagos and about 21 local councils across the state. Okay. Now, the local governments that were mentioned are the critical commercial nerve centers of Lagos, right? So essentially, even though technically motorcycles can still operate in Lagos, they can operate in the places where they can make the most money. Now, does it affect us? When I say us, I mean the formal motorcycle taxi hailing companies that are put in place the highest level, highest standards possible to ensure safety of lives, of security, and of property. So in a clarification that was requested online via social media channels from the government, the response was that it does extend to companies like ours as well in the regions that were mentioned. How do we feel about this? We think that this is not going to be effective. We think that this would not even achieve the objective that the government really has in mind. So let's put the objective on the table. What is the objective? Concern for lives, concern for safety, concerns for security. A bunch of statistics were thrown up about the number of accidents that have happened over the last few years. And while those are true, we have to look at this holistically, right? The challenge is that the regulation that was put in place has not been fully enforced. A very comprehensive regulatory framework has not been developed for this industry, which is what companies like ours have been advocating for over the last 1 year. And we've been having very close engagements with some key government officials, showing them the framework, the roadmap, and even recommending regulatory frameworks to regulate the activities of motorcycle and tricycle operators in the state.
That engagement.
Well, there you have it, the CEO of Max Whitney Yoyelo. Just as we wrap up, I mean, you all are feeling the bite of this. You've heard his perspective.
That was before the ban.
No, that was before the ban.
I was sounding very bullish there. But
Yeah.
I'm sure if you ask him now, he's going to say otherwise.
And I'm wondering, because we do know that all the bike-hailing operators were not licensed to operate in Lagos State. Are you having sort of a joint conversation with the government at this time, or everybody, or you just your tent?
Of course. The purpose of TAN is to come as a body and then speak to the government. So all our conversations now are done together. We already have a group where everything is done together. We have conversations. We try to book meetings together. It's not, nobody's fighting the battle alone, because to be honest, there's so much you can lobby alone. So everybody's having that conversation as a body. So yes, we are talking as one to the government and, making our case and hoping that they...
So if a government official was watching this, what would be the case you'll make to them as a wrap-up? Just one word, just one line.
We have what it takes to help regulate the industry. Okay. We're also concerned about safety and security.
We need to go. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. We were talking to Victor DAMINABO, the Operations Flight Manager of GOKADA.